Hey guys, so this is a different presentation of the TikTok challenge. I don't want to get copyright striked or anything since that is another platform and another user. So I'm just going to show you the big parts of what's going on. So here we've got an example very similar to how she set it up in the original video. We've got two numbers. The big thing to notice is that both of the values have 0 in the middle. Okay, so the way we solve this, we multiply and we get different pairs. So the first two values right here will multiply to give us the first two numbers in our answer. Okay, the last two numbers will multiply and give us the last two values in our answer. Okay, and the middle ones, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We cross multiply and then add them together. Okay, so 9 times 6 and 3 plus 7, add them together, we get 75. That is actually correct. Okay, that wasn't the issue. The issue was the way it was presented in the original video is that it works in all cases. Well, let's try that. There's our final answer. That was correct. Here I've got 214 and 851. All right, so let's apply the same rule. Multiply the first two values to get 16. Multiply the last two values to get 4. Now, since 4 doesn't have two digits, we do need to put the 0 in just to cover it. And last, we do the same process. 8 times 4 is 32. 2 times 1 is 2. Put them together, we get 34. And so her algorithm says that should work. However, the actual answer is drastically different. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to look and see how we could code and figure out how many numbers that works for. So let's jump over to our code. All right, so here's the advanced challenge I gave you guys. I will share the link down at the bottom of YouTube in case anybody needs it. But basically, I want to see what's going on. I want to compare normal math versus her algorithm and count how many times that system actually works. Okay. Now, there are a million numbers in there, but we're not going to use all of them. Let me explain. So you'll notice my skeleton is bare bones. I don't even have a scanner. I don't have my normal imports or anything because this one doesn't need it. It's just going to run for us. We don't have anything to interact with. We're not prompting anybody. We just want to know, hey, how many does this work for? Okay, so I need one accumulator. I'm just going to call that count. Okay, and that's going to count how many times this works. Okay, now you can choose to use a while loop or a for loop, however it worked. At the time I assigned this, we hadn't yet talked about for loops, so I will do this as a while. So I'm going to get my starting control variable. And here's where we have to make our first exception. Yes, there are 1,000 different 3-digit numbers, but we can't use leading zeros. Logically, that makes sense because they're not a 3-digit number if the first digit is a 0. Mathematically and syntaxically, Java doesn't like reading leading zeros. It's the same thing that happened when some of you tried to use a PIN number that had a leading 0. It doesn't exactly work out. So in that case, we're going to start at 100. That's going to be our first and lowest 3-digit number. Okay. Now I'm going to have a while loop, and I'm going to keep running so long as that is under 1,000. Okay. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put my incrementer. I'm going to go up 1 every time. It's going to be at the bottom of the loop, but it's still there. So I've got my outer loop covered. Okay. Inside here, this is where I need my second one. So I'm going to start another one, again, at 100. And it's going to look identical to the other with the exception of the variable. And just to give you another example, yes, you could do less than or equal to 9,999. Same situation. It's just what's happening. Okay. I think we need those. Okay. So we're going to grab our values. Now we need to split them. Okay, this is where we use division and mod. I've seen people do this several different ways. Some people find them inside the inner loop. Some people find both sets of values inside the inner loop. Both are completely correct. You just have to make sure you have them and update them at the right times. Okay, so we've got I. So let's make num1 dig1. And that's going to be very easy. We take I and we divide by 100. That will spit out whatever is in this first digit's place, because divided by 100 just shifts the decimal. That's it. Now I don't need the middle value, so I'm going to skip it. And then num1 dig3. This one is where we mod 10. Okay? Remember what mod does, it gives us the remainder. So if I divide by 10, I am only grabbing whatever is in that ones position. Okay? Down here inside this, it's going to be the exact same thing, except I want to change my variables and my, variables. So this will be num2 dig1, and these are going to use j. Okay? Everything so far, not too bad. Now we need to actually code her wonky algorithm, okay? So let's start with all of our values, okay? So we have a 6-digit number, we're cross multiplying or just plain multiplying, and then we have to put them in the right positions. So we'll call 3 things. Answer 1, 2, and 3. Okay, answer 1, these are going to be my first 2 digits. So that means I take the first 2 digits of my value, or the first digit of both values, and I multiply them. Okay, the last ones, I take the last digits and multiply those. Okay. So the middle one is where we get a little interesting. So remember, we got that cross multiply going on. So that means I'm going to do the first one of digit 1 multiplied by the second digit, or the third digit of the second number, and then I'm going to add that to the reverse. So the last digit of the first number multiplied by the first digit of the second number. Okay? There we go. So let's call that TikTok. Now I need to put those in the right positions. Okay? So we know we've got 6 digits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? The ones position we don't care about. So that can just be added by itself. No problem, no harm, no foul. This answer is 2 digits, but we need it to be the third and fourth digit here. So that means what we need to do is, didn't copy like I thought I did. We need to multiply that by 100 to shift it those 2 positions. And then last but not least, as you can possibly guess, this time we're going to shift it 4 digits all the way down. So multiplying it by 10,000. And that is her method, or her answer, okay? Now, we have another one, which is just our normal real math. I times j. Okay? Now our math is all done. We've got everything we need. Now we just need to compare the results. And when we compare, we use an if test. If math is equal to the TikTok answer, a couple of things go down. First, I want to print it. So I've got I, and I'll concatenate some room, and I'll put J, and then just for fun, I'll put the answer just so we can see what actually happens, and we'll just use one. You could use either since they're the same thing, but that's fine. We also need to increment our counter, okay? And that's going to run through every permutation. So since this is 900 and this is 900, we actually got 81,810,000 different values we're going through. So just shy of a million, okay? So we've got that, we've got that, we've got that. So the last thing we need to do is at the very end, we need to give our final print statement to tell us what our grand total was. So this only works, this is where count comes in, times out of, I said a million, and it's close enough, but that's the actual stuff. For the record, it's 1%. If we did our coding correctly. Okay, so let's give it a run. Oh, there we go. Okay, took way longer than it should have, but I found my other issue. Along with having that not be mod, that is not the letter I. So my numbers were not actually incrementing in the exact same way they needed to be. My bad. There we go. There's my answer I was looking for. Okay. So 8,100 times out of 810,000 times, which is just 1% of the time. That is why we don't teach this in normal math. It is a really cool number sense exercise if you've got those zeros lined up, but it is not something worth teaching everybody to teach you. Is like a different way of doing mathematics. There are several different ways of doing multiplication that are shortcuts that make sense. One of the ones that I remember my students loved when I taught it was the crosshatch method. Um, look that up if you're curious, but that is the code. And again, that line right there held both of my issues. So other than that, everything is still the same. Did not change anything else. Thank you very much, and I hope this helps you understand the challenge.